you guys are going to love this show tonight. I'm telling you, this is where you guys are all at. We're going to talk about ending vote by mail. And if I ever bring up anything about Oregon, somebody has to tell me next to get rid of Tina Kotek, your governor. The next thing they say is nothing's going to change till you get rid of vote by mail. So Ben Idle is with the End Vote by Mail group, and he's going to talk about what's going on with that. We're going to talk about the difficulties with that and all kinds of things. So our show is brought to you by Dr. Michael Bratman, Chris Dental, my dentist. Yes, I still go back to Oregon, to Eugene, because he's awesome and he does great care. And you only have to go every 6 months, so it gives me an excuse to go. I can write it off on my taxes because I do a little work while I'm there. You know, all those things. Don't turn me in. That's totally legal. So we just the other day, I was talking to Shelly Boshart Davis, a legislator, a representative in Oregon, and we were talking about vote by mail and all this. And I knew that Ben was going to be coming on. So we're going to have a great conversation. You guys can ask questions too. You know how to do it if you're on Facebook. And this isn't on Instagram, but they're kind of strange about that kind of stuff. But anyway, let's bring Ben on. Hey, Ben, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. It's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
I'm going to put me over here because I noticed when this, well, I don't know. Sometimes when it goes, when you pre-broadcast it, it has me looking the other way, like I'm not looking at you, and it looks kind of rude.
Switch it, and I'll arrange myself. Look, hold on, watch this. I'll see if I can get those out, knocking my camera down.
Oh, look at you. Okay, so we'll see if this works. We'll see how this comes out in the end. It doesn't matter. It's the conversation we're having that matters. So, Ben, tell me about what is I know End Vote by Mail, but kind of explain what this is organization. What are you trying to do? Do a referendum? What are you looking for?
Look, so this is IP 37. I'm one of the chief petitioners, Michaela Hammerson in Southern Oregon, and then attorney Stephen Jonkis is also a chief petitioner. And what IP 37 is it's the holy grail of what anyone who understands the election system deeply that knows that there's a severe problems with our current election system. It's the holy grail for everything that we want. It's in-person voting, hand-counted ballots at the precinct level, results by election day, no counting ballots mysteriously behind closed doors for 7 days after election day, which is against the law now. It's been struck down to be able to even do that. Clean voter rolls, public access to all voter rolls. Voter rolls will be managed by the county clerk and free to any citizen who asks, so that there can be public oversight, state holiday, and that's just to name, the basic few, but there's more.
So when would this be on the ballot? Like, how many signatures do you have to have and by when?
Technically, we need to have about 156,000 signatures. We started gathering signatures about 4 weeks ago, and we've got roughly 15,000 already in the first month. It's creating tremendous energy within the Republican Party. And we've also brought in Democrats and independents. One of our Multnomah County leader for NVBM was the vice chair for the Democrat Central Committee in Portland. And now she's leading the effort in Multnomah County. That's Ciata Thompson. She's leading the effort in Multnomah County to get enough signatures that put End Vote by Mail on the ballot November 2026. So
I was telling you earlier, because I don't hit people with questions. I don't want to, throw things at people. I'm not a reporter anymore. Yeah. Shelly and I were talking the other day, and she brought up that the cheaper and easier way to get this to happen would be to get Republicans. If every Republican who's registered would have voted, the whole scenery in Oregon would change. There's a lot of Republicans who sit on their hands and don't do anything. And what do you say to that? Would be, because you're going to have to raise a ton of money to get this thing out there once it's on the ballot and educate people because they don't understand.
Yeah, no, this is a great question. And Shelly, I love Shelly. She's amazing. She's a fighter. She fights for conservatives. She's a great voice in Salem for all of us. But I don't know if you know what happened last week, what broke on X, that Washington State has about 700,000 illegally registered voters on their voter rolls right now. and they've removed
No.
about 5 million voters off the voter rolls across California, Washington, Oregon, the West Coast states. This is just the beginning. That was 29 out of, or that was 30 out of 30, 40 some counties in Washington State.
So
These
how many 100,000?
There's 700,000.
700,000 voters on the rolls in Washington State, and they're not supposed to be?
That we don't know who they are. They don't have social security numbers. They may not even be real people. So that's about 20% of the entire electorate in Washington State. And with 20%, if one side, i.e. the government, controls 20% of the electorate, they're going to win every race, everywhere, every time. Okay. And so this is what I'm talking about. The question I have back to Shelly, and again, total respect for Shelly. She's amazing. But my question is, if the voter rolls are this dirty, then how the hell do we know that Republicans actually aren't turning out to vote? This whole election system occurs behind closed doors. You get a message on your SOS account that says you voted, but did your vote count? There's no way to determine that. There is absolutely no way to determine. And I'm an elected official. I've been elected as the as my Republican nominee since 2022 and 2024 in my House and Senate districts. And I've been involved in the electorate process very deeply as a candidate and as someone who's run multiple campaigns across the state of Oregon. We can't see in. I'm also the CEO of a government agency in Southern Oregon, the Umpqua Public Transportation District, in which all 4 of our board members lost their seats when we turned the district around in a matter of 6 months, when everybody, including ODOT, said it couldn't be done. We did it, and we saved the taxpayers $600,000 every single biennium, and every single board member got taken off the board. And one of those seats, the board member won on election night, and then they went on an 8-day blackout in Douglas County. Dan Loomis is the county clerk there. It's all Republican. Went on an 8-day blackout, and then 8 days later, after that blackout, Todd Vaughn, position 4, loses. And all these ballots came in after Election Day. In fact, it was almost 2/3 of the entire return was after Election Day.
So what is that?
He wouldn't give us any information. As a district, we requested information to show that election was legitimate, data from the tabulators, data from the election, and they refused to give us not even anything. We're only seeing the top line. And on top of that, Rick, they've asked me to sign a document certifying that election, and I refused to sign it. And so the Secretary of State has now opened an investigation on me because it is ORS. It is against the law for me not to sign that document approving the election, even though I've seen zero evidence that election is legit.
Okay, so for people that just turned in, what would this ballot initiative do for voting? Run through that list you gave at the beginning, because we've got some more people on here and I want them to hear it.
What it would do is that the America First candidate in position 4, Todd Vaughn, in a 79% Republican district, wouldn't have lost the election 8 days later after Election Day to a Democrat. This is totally insane. And so Todd Vaughn won the election on election night, and then between the 7 and 8 days that occurred after Election Day, more than 50% of the total returns came in. And that to me is a huge, huge problem. And that's been struck down by the Fifth Circuit Court. They said that's not legal. You can't collect ballots after Election Day and have them count.
Well, when did that ever start? You know what I mean? It's like, remember when Election Day was Election Day, 8 o'clock at night, you got your ballot in, or screw you. You didn't. I mean, what if you can't get your ballot in?
Yeah. Especially
in Oregon, where it's mail-in right now. If you can't do it, there shouldn't be any leeway. When did this thing become that, like, I mean, everybody should, I don't think everybody needs to vote. It doesn't matter to me. I think every educated voter needs to vote. Yeah. But it's not like if you have the right, you should do it. But we were talking earlier, I know people who, oh yeah, Ben Idle, that's a cool name, I'll vote for him. It's like, no, well, do you even know what Ben Idle believes? I mean, do you have any clue? So Ben, what I meant earlier was go back through at the very beginning of the show. You said it's going to take away this, do this, run through that litany, because there's a ton of people flying on here, and I want them to hear this is what the petition would do.
Yeah, the petition is in a nutshell, it's 1 day voting, state holiday, in-person voting, hand-counted ballots at the precinct level. results by 8 p.m. on election night, and voter rolls controlled and cleaned by the county clerk. And anyone from the public will be able to request a copy of the voter rolls free of charge to have public oversight, complete public oversight over our elections. There is so much, Rick, we can unpack here with the elections, but I just told you about what happened in Douglas County, and that is insane. Our system, in a nutshell, is designed at its core for mass election fraud, the entire system. And you asked the question, you said, when did this 7-day thing start? It started in Oregon and Washington, California in 2019, leading up to the 2020 election in which Biden got 20 million extra votes. And what happened is that they passed more election laws, more election legislation in 2019 than in any other time in the state's history. And they did it so that they could cheat the 2020 election. And if you go to nvbm.com and you click on the blueprint for election fraud, all it is it's links to all the bills. That's all it is. And you just look at the bills. You want indisputable proof? Look at the rules. It's insane, man. When you understand it, it's totally crazy.
So you were saying earlier too that Washington just found 700,000 voters on the rolls that there's no person, they're nobody.
They cannot confirm. There's no.
What do you think it is in Oregon?
I think it's about the same. I think it's about 20%. So I would say it's probably roughly 500,000, 400,000 or 500,000. But it's
we could have
election.
We could have 500,000 voters casting votes each year that we have no people to put behind, no face to put behind them.
Yeah, and you know what else? Oregon doesn't track who's listed, who's registered inactive. So it's the only state in the nation that doesn't track the number of inactive registered voters. We don't know.
Well, yeah, maybe that's why I didn't win the Secretary of State, huh?
I'm sure it is why. In fact, I'll tell you exactly that's why. It could very well be why. We don't track it. And so there's no way to know how many registered voters are in our system. And remember, Kash Patel just about a month ago came out and dropped a huge bomb on Congress saying that China, having all the receipts, that China on the West Coast and other states, but mainly on the West Coast, has been using AI to actively use the online registration systems in Oregon, Washington, California to register with AI fake voters, and then they're casting those ballots, getting ballots mailed to them, so on and so forth. It's crazy.
So how long has this been, would your bill, your initiative also require voter ID when you vote?
Yes. I'm sorry. Gosh, thank you for bringing that up. Yes.
You're welcome.
A voter ID, not an attestation. Right now, I'm a citizen and I'm legal to vote. Click. Okay, here's your ballot. This is voter ID, and absentee voting is also important because it's important that our military overseas, that are disabled, that are elderly, that people that have a verifiable reason to vote by mail can continue to vote by mail. We don't want to stop anyone from voting. We want to make sure that only citizens who are alive and capable of voting can vote.
That have a beating heart. That's a.
It's like, yes, they're alive.
Ben, come on, you're so nitpicky. I mean, what? You're dead and dead. Yeah, you racist homophobe.
Totally racist.
Whatever's wrong, you're a racist homophobe, transphobe, whatever they want to. That's what I get called all the time, and I'm so many phobes. I'm developing a phobe against phobes.
Yeah, I'm a phobophobe.
So somebody just mentioned it here too. Will Trump's new census help?
Yeah, because they're getting rid of tons of illegals. I mean, it's sad in a lot of ways.
How can people stand up for this shit? You know what I mean? That's what I don't get. How can the Democrats? I know more Democrats are irritated by this too because they're leaving the party because it's so screwed up.
Yeah.
But how can people still say, and they do it to me all the time, is we have a fair system when they're not paying attention? And why would the only reason you would want voting to be fucked up is because you're cheating?
That's the only reason.
It's the only reason. You have to be, You're okay with cheating. And I think most Oregonians are like, fuck you, no more.
Yes. And I would say fuck you too, because it's the way I feel. After 2024's election, Clackamas County, Oregon, we are a red county. We're in the Portland metro area, and we've moved red since 2020. We've had full control of our county commission. We had Republicans in legislative seats. Every single Republican lost their seats in 24, and it didn't happen. Multnomah County in the 2024 election had 150,000 ballot returns on election day. It's never happened since before we went to vote by mail. It was unprecedented. Lori DeReamer lost her seat. Everybody lost. It was and we have these like crazy Mamdani style socialists in the Portland City Council, and Democrats are like, we didn't vote for these people. We are liberals. We are Democrats. We aren't communists. These people are communists, and they're destroying our city. We do not want our city destroyed. We want public safety. These are just basic things that everybody agrees to, Republican, Democrat, or whatever. And so everyone's very, very pissed. That's why we have a great ex-Democrat running our county operations in Multnomah. She's amazing.
There's a comment up here earlier, Wayne, and he said, I have a friend tell me that their grandfather got a ballot last November and he passed away 15 years ago.
Oh, it happens all the time. I hear it every day. Every day. But here's what they do. Listen, they send him out, okay? The ballots go out. Person's been dead 10 years. Guess what happens to that ballot? It comes back in. Now they can use that ballot to offset a vote they don't like. The SEIU in Oregon runs ballot drives, extra ballot drives in every university in the state of Oregon, and they pull down 120 to 150,000 ballots every election cycle. The SEIU, what are they doing with these ballots?
Okay,
they're mailed to dorms and also mailed double ballots to their homes. These are the college student ballots. Are you kidding me? No, I'm not. We sued them for it. We took them to federal court. It's crazy. It's crazy.
So, and what people need to understand, the SIU is the union that represents most state workers.
Government workers. It's the biggest union in the nation, biggest union in every state. It's the biggest union.
I heard about this new group here in Montana, and they're going after corporate money and all this kind of stuff. And I sent them a message and said, what about the union money? And no answer.
Yeah, I mean,
that told me everything I wanted to know. Is like that's who's running it. So we've had. Remember when they found all those mistakes before the last election, and Kotek, the governor of Oregon, hardly said a word about it.
No, they're on purpose. They do this whole screw up, right? Because look, the ballots are printed they have a code per precinct. Okay. So a ballot in a precinct has to be cast in that precinct.
Okay.
And so they overprint 5% just in case of ballot loss. That's 5%. Okay. How many races are decided within 5%? A lot. So it's you're going, this is 5% per precinct. Okay. So they when they know they're going to get their butts cleaned out, they're going, we got to figure out a way to reprint these ballots so that we can use them in different precincts. And so I suspect that's what they did. These are how they make these big debacles. And the big debacles always lead to the cheat. But the counting is behind closed doors. And let me tell you something else about the voter rolls. I think this is super important that everybody understands about Oregon.
This would change under your bill.
This would totally change. Yeah, because it's vote in person. You go in, you show your ID, they have your name on a list. They cross out your name. They give you a ballot. You go fill it out. You bring it back. And a volunteer, a Democrat or Republican or whoever, a volunteer, both parties are all there. They count it and they put it right there and they count it. And then by 8 p.m., you know who wins.
That's what we do. That's what I do in Montana now.
Yeah. If it's a close race, I as the candidate can go, I want to recount. Okay. And then they recount it.
And you didn't say it also makes it election day a holiday, so people have no excuse not to come.
It's a holiday. Yep.
Okay. So now finish your story.
Oh, I was going to just tell you, it's really crazy. But in Oregon, 35 of the 36 counties in Oregon all have 100%, above 100% plus registration rates. So a registration rate is the number of registered voters compared to the number of eligible voters. So we're at 100% and above at 35 counties. So more people in 35 counties are registered to vote than there are people who are eligible to vote in Oregon.
Oh, come on.
And you know what? I
Good.
said this in 2022, and Dan Rayfield, who is now, at the time, he was Speaker of the House in Oregon. Now he's the Attorney General. Dan Rayfield worked with Facebook and Instagram to get me deplatformed for telling that story on Instagram, and I had 1 million views on that reel. And Dan Rayfield is now our Attorney General. Go figure.
Well, and
Totally deplatformed.
And what I've always thought was kind of interesting is, if people know Oregonians, and we are Oregonians,
Yeah.
then you look around and you go, there is no way that a state like ours, with the population like ours, can vote this blue when we've had Senator Mark Hatfield as governor, Tom McCall as governor, Vic Atiyeh was the last Republican governor.
Yep. And
Norman Collis, a Secretary of State. We've had tons of Republicans in the past. In fact, when I was a kid, Oregon was a Republican state.
Yep.
And for it to switch that much, and to not for what, 40, more than, the 80s, I can't remember. How many years has it been since there's been Dennis Richardson won. So we've had one Secretary of State who was a Republican. But other than that, it's been Democrats in the executive branch for 40, 45, 50 years. Yep. That's not Oregon. It's such an independent state.
It really is.
You have to see somebody is cheating.
But don't forget, Dennis Richardson was a big proponent of vote by mail.
Huh.
Otherwise,
but if you're going to run for Secretary of State, you kind of have to say that, I think.
He truly believed it. Vote by mail is a very.
I used to be, because I thought, it gets people to vote. But then, the more you learn, and obviously, do you think, it was 1983, Liberty says, since we've had except for Dennis. But don't you feel like the time is ripe? Oregon, people are done. Yeah. Did you see today where I don't know if these numbers are true, because it comes from Kotek's, little minions, but they're saying $15 billion cut out of Oregon's budget because of she's blaming the big beautiful bill. But I wonder what happens if that counts any of the money that she might lose because of being a alleged sanctuary state.
Well, sanctuary, DEI, all that stuff is costing money. And what they're doing is they're taxing us heavier. There's a special session to pass the largest tax increase in state history, and it's a transportation bill. And meanwhile, it's $11.5 billion. Meanwhile, she's giving $45 million just this week to Kate Brown's Willamette Falls project. It's the most insane grift corruption you've ever seen. These people are taking money from the working class and they're giving it to themselves, and they're refusing to follow federal law. And so they're taxing us, and we're paying federal taxes, and we're not getting our portion and our share of the federal benefit that comes from those taxes. Instead, we're getting taxed harder by the state. It's bullshit.
I was looking at
outrageous.
I was looking at.
We're not voting for these people. They're not getting elected. Nobody thinks this is good.
I was looking at an article the other day, and it shows Ron Wyden, and here he is, 246 years old, and as he looks, and he doesn't even live in Oregon, and hasn't for years. He has a property here, which you have to be legal, but he and his wife live in New York City. Mark brings this up out of Portland, and his stepkids, they all live in New York City or New York State. And so how are you representing Oregonians? And plus, for how many years? At some point, Nancy, Chuck, you guys need to go. You're old. I'm old. I'm getting old, but I'm a youngster compared to you. So you got these old, we need new blood in there. And I think if we could change vote by mail and get it back to the original, and get people, get the shit out of there and quit the cheating, that you could actually, Liberty brings up 400 plus ODOT workers versus 3.5 Oregonians paying taxes. Geez.
Hey, you know, the very first federal election that was run by vote by mail in Oregon was Ron Wyden versus Gordon Smith. And Gordon Smith was a well-loved guy in Oregon. Remember Gordon Smith?
Yeah. I went to his house.
Everybody loved Gordon Smith. Now, Gordon Smith loses by 3 points in that first election to Ron Wyden. And then Ron Wyden just took off. He never saw anything closer to 7% ever again. It was the first vote by mail election in state history. It was federal.
But it's funny. It's interesting. It's interesting how people can't put one and one together and go, well, of course, that's because Kate Brown also took the education standards for Oregon and got rid of them because, well, the kids can't live up to this. We've got to talk to the OEA. OEA calls, get those standards so we look better. You know, I mean, people need to understand who is running this state.
Yeah, you know who's running the state? I hate to tell people this, but it's China.
How's that?
Because the Chinese they own all our land. They're donating into the Republican and Democrat parties. The Chinese money's coming up through the Southern Oregon Senator David Brock Smith down in Southern Oregon. That's why I'm all up his ass as the CEO of the Umpqua Public Transportation District. That's his Senate district, and it's corruption. The corruption of the Republicans down there is over the top. We were just down at the Douglas County Fair, and we got so many signatures. People are like, no, these elections are bullshit. This is a 79% Republican county, and people do not even believe that their local officials were ever elected because they don't act like Republicans. And so they can't figure out why only Democrats control all the government agencies, all the schools, all that. It's crazy, man. The people down there, they're like, no, dude, this is bizarre. They got it all on lock.
So how do people sign the petition?
You got to go to endvbm.com. VBM stands for vote by mail. So endvbm.com. You go there, you can sign it. You just print it up, sign it, put it in the mail, send it. We got the address on there and everything. And we need volunteers. We need donors. Right now we've raised maybe like $12,000, but we've just orchestrated 20 fairs across the state of Oregon in the last 2 weeks. Michaela's been really the lead on that, and she's just crushing it, getting everybody everything they need. Steve Hammerson's running around getting everybody everything they need. We're spending a lot of money. We're spending every penny that comes in and then some. We're actually overspending because we're having to come out of pocket a lot to try to just get things done. So any donation you can make is huge. $10, $5, I don't care, $1,000, whatever you got, whatever's easy. We need the money just to keep the branding going, just to keep the excitement going. But I'll tell you right now, the Republican Party in Oregon is pumped on this. Scott Pressler's joined us. The Washington GOP has joined us. They've got an issue petition in Washington State to require voter ID that's part of NBBM, and it's fantastic. California, Nevada, Colorado. We're going after this. We're making this movement a national multi-state movement, especially focused on the West Coast because the West Coast is infiltrated. Our politics are infiltrated. There's no way that an American, an Oregonian, a Washingtonian, a Californian, someone would come in and destroy the state and destroy the cities and destroy the schools and destroy our public safety and destroy the businesses. Portland has the highest vacancy rate, commercial vacancy rate in the nation. This is not an accident. People wake up. It is not an accident.
Did you see where the U.S. Bank building was sold and it was like what was it, 50% lower than what it's really worth? Because everything in downtown since BLM and the stupid, ridiculous, dumbass protests that they had
that and the taxes that came afterwards, they're taxing everybody out of business.
Yeah. And then people say, well, that's just the cost of, civil rights. And it's like, no. You don't destroy innocent people's businesses. And how many police officers they injured? Some are blind from the lasers that they used in their eyes. I mean, I think this is all, but Oregon is waking up, don't you think? I mean,
Oregon's awake. This is the greatest part about it. There's people that are like, well, vote by mail is convenient. They're clueless. They don't know anything about it. There's so much propaganda. Listen, there's two words, okay? There's two words that billions of dollars have been spent of tax dollars over the last 15 years. Two words, billions spent, safe and secure, okay? Billions spent to get those two words in everybody's heads. But the fact is that prior to vote by mail, we did not need those two words in our heads. We knew when we showed our ID and got our ballot, filled it out, handed it back, and had results by election night, everyone knew those elections were legit. There was never a reason to spend billions of dollars to get people, billboards, ads, digital ads. The Oregon Secretary of State has spent billions on their safe and secure campaign over the last decade. It's crazy. That alone should just be like, yeah, I'm done.
We may like the ease of vote by mail, but it also is a perfect setup for fraud. We've been experiencing that for too many years now. That's what Jane has to say. Yeah, I think people are starting to figure out that, when Kotek does what she's doing, and the Democrats, I told Shelly I was really proud of the Republicans, and I don't care that much about either party. I mean, as a party, but
Yeah.
but I was proud of them because they strategized and they really screwed her, the governor.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
did a
they
good job.
tricked her because they weren't paying attention, and I think that's awesome.
Well,
And
and Mark Meek backed out, so Mark Meek wouldn't let it out. He's a Democrat. He wouldn't let it out of committee, and the Republicans have no power. They're under
no,
we're
well,
under a super majority, but they played the game perfectly and they fought back and they stood up. And
so what
bravo.
do you think of this? Okay, just now we'll get off of that
Yeah.
topic for a second. What do you think of this special session coming up? How she calls it on Labor Day? She had to call all the staff, the building staff, the janitors. So we're in a state where she's crying, billions of dollars are going away because of my stupidness and what I hate for Trump, and yet she is spending a lot of money calling people back on Labor Day and bringing in these staff and to have a special session because she couldn't get her job done during the regular session.
Yep. That's right. I mean, it's just she wants to put pressure on people to do the vote fast. She wants it done. She wants it done.
What do you think of what Trump is doing in DC? That sure is stirring up a lot of shit, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm shocked. I mean, even I have even relatives on my page that are writing things that I'm like going, you might not want to do this. But it's like, what is people's problem with, you've got, they're going, and even I heard an interview with the police chief saying, no, the statistics the media is quoting are not accurate. And so here you have,
Don't leave your lying eyes.
go to the say one person was murdered. Go to their parents and ask them what they think the crime rate is. But I heard it's like 41 deaths, murders per 100,000 people in DC. And then you go to places like Mexico City, it's 7 in 100,000. So we're worse than Mexico City, and people won't even travel to Mexico City on a vacation, and we just ignore what's going on in our nation's capital. And then they say, oh, it's just Trump trying to, take over and use the National Guard to take over a city. Well, maybe somebody needs to take over the city because the dumbasses that are in charge of it sure as hell don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, can't argue with that. I think he can only take the city over for 30 days because that's all that right. Congress has given him on this one. But it does make a statement, and I think the statement needs to be made. I don't think it's going to have a long-term effect on crime in D.C. The problem is that you're right. I believe the same thing. I believe that this woke, destructive policies that are, Chinese, I don't want to say Chinese. I want to say CCP inspired, which is what we're seeing in all these blue cities. This is CCP inspired destruction of our country. And so what we need to do is I think it makes sense for the president to come in there and put a 30-day pause on the gun violence. You got to remember, it's worse than Mexico City. It's worse than Chicago. It's the worst city in the nation. It's worse than Chicago. I mean, let that sink in. So it needs to change. These woke mayor and the woke sheriff and all this wokeness. Look, it's the black community that's committing 98% of the murders, okay, on each other. And that also needs to be recognized.
Right, black so that we can stop it. And then they call us racist for bringing it. Those are the numbers. So we need to be putting money into that, to making sure that these communities are safe, because those people don't want their neighborhoods like that.
No, they don't. They don't.
Unbelievable.
It's CCP inspired. But here's the other question. Here's a thought, at least that the Democrats should be arguing. They should be arguing that it costs Trump $90 million a month to bring the National Guard, cost us $90 million a month to bring the National Guard in. What could that $90 million do locally? But the problem is that if you give the $90 million to the scumbags that run DC, they're just going to give it to their friends and let black people kill each other some more.
Right.
That's all they're going to do. That's the Democrat way. So what are the choices? Yeah, go lock it up. I don't know.
What do you see in Portland? Because I haven't been there in a while. So what's Portland? Is it better, worse?
You know the funniest thing about Portland right now, and I'm in Portland all the time. Okay, I'm in downtown Pearl. I'm there all the time. I'll tell you right now. When you start reading stories that the food carts are excited for the next big protest because it's the only time they ever sell anything, that's a very sad scenario. And that's what's been going on in Portland. A whole lot of nothing, and until there's a protest, and then the food carts are like, "Woo!"
Well, you know what I feel, and I've heard from people that I know up there is if you don't live downtown, you don't see it, so you don't. It's like, oh, it's not that bad, but there's times of night when you don't go out in certain neighborhoods.
Portland's empty, man. It's sad. It's a sad. I'm a Portland inner city native. It is a sad city, man. It's empty. It's quiet. There's no hustle and bustle. The energy is heavy. It's almost like there's like a dark energy on Portland, man. It's like a heaviness.
Somebody said that TV report on the food carts was so funny.
I'm not lying. I was like, they did it. They ran the whole story like all week long. You're like, oh my God, this is sad. And if you're dumb enough, and I'm sorry if I call you dumb because you are dumb enough. If you are dumb enough, you are that dumb to think that that's good.
Yeah.
This is a lighthearted story. It's not. It's sad. Our city's been destroyed by these people, and we need to take it back. And the only way to take it back is to have election security, because our elections are being stolen. That's why it is the way it is. That's it.
And I want to bring this up just so people, because I don't think they can hear this enough. And I'll have you go back when I finish this thought. Then I want you to repeat what this petition is going to do, so people will see it, how to get hold of it. But the other thing, you and I've talked about this before, and I talked about this with Shelly, is redistricting. Oregon is a clusterfuck when it comes to redistricting the state.
Yeah.
And if you look at the map, people, you need to understand this. The Democrats have also cheated heavily when it comes to redistricting.
Yeah.
And what they've done is taking everybody comes from Portland out. Madras is in the same district as Portland when it comes to voting. That's
86.
In like areas, people with like minds. And what they do is they're trying to get those Madras votes and those Redmond votes, so they don't count, because they're more conservative. So they put them with 10,000 more Portland voters who are liberal, and that's what waters it out. So next, after the vote by mail, it's gerrymandering, and then the Democrats in Oregon. What a bunch of hypocrites! They've been publicly bitching about what's going on in Texas when you already destroyed Oregon by doing this. You've been doing it for 40 freaking years. And then you come out because a little band of Texas Republicans want to change the gerrymander or want to fix the elections, whatever they're doing. But you've been doing this for 40 years here.
Yeah.
And you've destroyed. So that's another way you're not represented as a voter, you guys, because your votes don't count unless you are liberal Portland, Washington County, and then they're watering everybody else down with it. And that's not fair. I think elections should be, let's put the best man or woman out there and let's have everybody make it fair. Okay, these are like-minded people. These are people like this. When I lived in Springfield, Oregon, we lived in the country. They redistricted my district to include the University of Oregon. Country people have absolutely nothing involved or in common with college professors and college students. So all of our votes didn't count. And you guys, that's going on all over the state. And that's unfair too. So once Ben gets this petition passed, then you need to start working on a nonpartisan, non-governor setup, non-elected group of people that comes up with the district boundaries, and they make it fair. A third Democrats, a third non-affiliated voters, and a third Republicans, and let them hash it out.
Yeah, apparently we have 45% Republicans in Oregon, but we got one congressional seat. So 5 of those seats cut through the Portland metro area. So they've figured out a way to divide 6 parts of Oregon with 5 of them that all go up to the Columbia River.
I bet you. I know, man. This probably isn't true.
Bad.
I know. Oh, and those damn Republicans gerrymandering. Yeah, and we have French Glenn hooked into Portland, Oregon, probably. You know, it's
For real,
like
dude.
Malheur County.
I'm in Klamath. Why do I got to vote with Portlanders?
Malheur County has so much in common with those Portland yuppies. It's like, oh my gosh. And this is the stuff people don't even look at or see. So you got to educate yourself, guys, and understand this, which is why we have people like Ben and Shelly and folks like that on here, because we want you to know what's going on. You're getting screwed.
Well, and you know you're getting screwed, people. You know you're getting screwed. You know, when someone's lying to you, you know it. Okay? You don't need them to be like, well, prove I'm lying to you. I don't need your proof. I know you're lying to me. Fuck you. That's all you have to say. And getting NVBM on the ballot in November 2026 is the biggest fuck you that you can give to the state of Oregon.
Oh, if it happens, Ben, I'm going to come back, not to live, but I'm going to come back and we're going to have a huge party. It's going to be and then they'll try, you know what'll happen? You know what's going to happen, Ben? I know what it is you're pro-male and anti-women.
Oh, yeah. I hate women.
You're trying to end male ballots. And so you're against men. And that's what it is. So see, you're a misogynist, and I'm sure you're everything else too. So run through one more time.
But it doesn't change the fact that they've been stealing elections for decades. So let's give them the fuck you in November 2026. Go to nbbm.com, sign it. Let's get it on the ballot. You can't vote your way out of a rigged system. I know that, but you can give them the finger and you can say you missed. And after that, when we get on the ballot, we're going to put their asses against the wall to prove that their election system is legit. And I know they won't because they can't. And let me leave you with this too, Rick. It is the government's responsibility to demonstrate that the elections are clean and fair, not the people's responsibility to prove that they're not. Okay? We are either governed by the government or we are self-governed, one or the other. And right now, we are not self-governed in the state of Oregon.
Dr. Addict Alcoholic. I like your name. He said, I was looking for the districts in Oregon because of the Texas stuff, and I can't believe how they have screwed the Oregon voters. Everybody should go online and look it up. Just look at the congressional districts for Oregon. When you look how
every mail-in ballots. Oh my, did you see
Ben, that's your new title. Mail-in ballots. Thanks for the information, Ben and Rick. You guys are very welcome. So Ben, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having the balls to go out there and do this. You always take on it's probably God's gift to Oregon that I'm not still there, because if you and I were doing stuff together, we'd be dangerous.
There'd be like, there's a mushroom cloud in Springfield. Who let off a nuke? It's not. It's just Ben and Rick.
It's the mail-in ballot. I could see a graphic for that, a mail-in, just two big cheeks and the whole government running out.
For real, man. What else can you do, right? I mean, you just got to go for the truth and the facts. And if we can wake people up, we wake people up. This is good. This is a huge GOTV effort for 2026. Trump knows about it. The RNC knows about it. They're all fired up about it. I think this is going to be a big wake-up call. And I can tell you this. I don't know, because I don't want to get ahead of President Trump. But I'll tell you this. I'll damn near bet the farm that there's going to be an intervention.
Yeah. I think he's warned Oregon. He's looking at all these states because there is a problem.
Yeah.
And Tina,
the DOJ is looking at the rolls. They're like, nope.
Yeah, they can stick their head in the sand and everything, but Oregonians are going to be right there in the back slapping them on the ass while their head's in the sand.
Yep.
Ben Idle, and vote by mail. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Rick. Appreciate you.
See you, man. So there you guys go. You've been harping on it. You've been screaming at me. This is how we got to change it. Well, there's an opportunity right there. So don't leave the podcast and say, oh, I feel so much better. Somebody's doing something about it. This isn't Ben's responsibility or the people that are working with him. This is your responsibility. You're an Oregonian. So if you really want to take it back, I mean, it's great to argue and talk about stuff, but if you bitch and don't do anything, that doesn't do anything. And if you just get mad and then harp, get your keyboard warrior out and harp on online, it doesn't do anything. If you really love Oregon, I've been learning stuff about this. Love is an action word. If you go into the Jewish faith, everything is an action word. If you're part of a community, it's an action word. You can't be part of a community unless you are active. So you can't be an Oregonian if you sit on your hands and do nothing. If you love the state, love is an action word. So you love Oregon, you want something different for Oregon, then you have to do something. There has to be an action that goes with that. Maybe it's signing this petition. Maybe it's getting petitions and getting the word out to your friends. Maybe you're sitting at a party with people and you just start talking and you go, no, there's a move. And you start, showing that off. Signs, they'll have signs. They obviously need money to get this campaign going. Nothing is cheap. Nothing is free. So if you really want to be free, there's a cost. And that means action. That means you pay for something. You do something. So, I don't live there anymore, but I still can do this. And you each have your own gift. You can all do the things that you need to do. So I feel hopeful. You know what I mean? With Trump and the focus on, and Tina sweating her watch it, Rick, sweating her brows, she's her furrowed brow because $15 million, $1 billion, or whatever it is coming out of her budget. People are being squeezed past their point of comfort. And when you squeeze something, when you make gold, the way they get the dross, the shit, the garbage in the metal to rise to the top is you heat it up. You put it over a fire and the dross comes to the top and that refines the gold. Maybe God's refining the gold in Oregon. And I know he is in our country and it seems chaotic and smelly, but that's their shit. And it has to come to the top if we want to refine it and find the gold. So we're on a gold mission. We're on a mission. The Oregon gold rush is once again. But to purify it, you got to get rid of the crap. And there's a lot of crap, decades worth of crap. So let's go. Let's do our job. Share this on your page so other people can see it, so they know it's happening. And then stay involved and support Ben and all their group and what they're doing. Okay. All right. Was that fun? I love this shit. I'd be retired if I didn't get to do this. This is way too much fun. While they're stirring the gold, I'm stirring the shit. Good night.